All right, what's going on, everybody? First off, before we start, I just want to say that Eric Lauder and myself, we really pride ourselves on being fair, objective, and honest, and giving both sides of a story. And if we do make an incorrect statement or we report incorrectly a story, then we have no problem retracting it and setting the record straight. So we do what real men do and admit when we are wrong or we make a mistake. And it seems as though I may have made a mistake here, right? I was going back and forth with a gentleman on Twitter about the circumstances surrounding this Hasim Rahman Jr. Jake Paul fight. And we're still going back and forth. YouTube fans, uh, boxing fans, people on social media, and seems to be kind of split down the middle, right? So I wanted to get to the bottom of it, so I included Steven Espinoza. I added him in the tweet, and then I asked him if he could, bring some clarification to this matter. So he says on Twitter, responding to my tweet, and I want to thank Steven Espinoza for responding to my tweet because he didn't have to. He doesn't owe me that right, so I give him full credit for doing that, and I show him a great deal of gratitude for doing that. Thank you, Steven Espinoza. He said the New York State Athletic Commission increased the max weight to 205 pounds. He said Jake Paul agreed. Team Rahman responded that Hasim Rahman Jr. would weigh in at 215. Not a request, a proposal, a statement. Right? That's what he says. It wasn't even a request. It wasn't even a proposal. It was a statement. Right? Attempts were made to change their mind, but repeatedly stated Hasim Rahman Jr. would not go below 215 pounds, and they told us to stop filming all access. That's what he says. I'm gonna share the screen. It's actually on the video thumbnail as well. So I'm gonna share the screen. This will be a Chrome tab. And you guys can see for yourself what Steven Espinosa said in response to my tweet. So I'm gonna apologize to Team Paul because I criticized them and I put the blame on them, and I was very critical of Jake Paul, and I said that he never wanted to fight. But honestly, Jake Paul did honor his agreement, and he actually made an amendment to the contract and added 5 pounds to Hasim Rahman's weight, saying he could weigh 205, right? And Hasim Rahman came back with the 215 statement, according to Steven Espinoza. So I don't think Jake Paul was at fault here. Now, you may not like the conditions in terms of the contract, but Hasim Rahman Jr. did agree to those terms, right? And I don't question Steven Espinoza here. I don't think he's not telling the truth. I think Steven Espinoza, um, it served him no benefit to cancel this fight. It really didn't. I'm sure money was lost here. With everyone involved, I'm sure money was lost here. So I don't think Steven Espinoza wanted to pull the plug on this event. I just don't think that it served him any purpose to do so. right? So I do believe that Stephen Espinoza is 100% telling the truth here. I don't question him for 1 second. That's number one. Number two, what I do believe Hasim Rahman may have been trying to do, right, was waiting to the last week of the fight, stepping on that scale at 215, right, and fighting for $5,000, right? Fighting for $5,000, the bare minimum, and just to get that exposure of beating Jake Paul, right? And what a victory over Jake Paul would bring in the future for him. So they were prepared to pay the penalty and fight at 215, in my opinion. This is my opinion. And they were willing to fight for the bare minimum and go into that ring or weigh in at 215 and probably rehydrate up to 224, 225 and fight Jake Paul at the same weight they fought Morrison at, right? Kenzie Morrison. And Jake Paul has every right to say no. That's not going to happen. I'll give you the 5 pounds and that's it. So I have to correct myself here. I don't think Jake Paul did anything wrong here. I don't think he was wrong at all. Right? I don't think he was wrong at all. And now I think Hasim Rahman Jr. didn't realize that Jake Paul was going to call his bluff, right? He didn't think that Jake Paul was going to cancel this fight with 1 week to go and lose all the money that was put into this event. I'm sure Jake Paul lost money. I'm sure Showtime may have lost money. I can't say for sure Showtime lost money, but I know Jake Paul must have lost some money here in promoting the event, right? So what I do believe Hasim Rahman was trying to do here was he tried to make a power move. The last week of the fight, say, hey, you know what? I'm coming in at 215, right? I'll pay all the money that you want me to pay, and I'll fight for the 5,000 if I have to, just so I can weigh in at 215, rehydrate to whatever I want, and you have to fight me as a heavyweight, right? And he just did not realize that Jake Paul would pull the plug on this event with a week to go. He didn't realize that, in my opinion. Right? So Jake Paul called his bluff, and he said, oh, you don't think I'm going to pull the plug on this? He pulled the plug on it, in my opinion. So Jake Paul had every right to do what he did. I stand corrected. I made a bunch of videos defending Hasim Rahman Jr. I'm going to be honest. I can't defend him anymore. Yeah, you did add him into the in there, and I also added it. I also added him in my tweet as well. So shout out to Hardy Case. He was the one who corrected me on Twitter. In terms of who actually did not want the fight, or he didn't. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he basically said it was, Rahman did not honor the contract, right? Did not honor the contract. So it is what it is, guys. So shout out to Hardy Case. I owe him an apology. I was going back and forth with him, and I'm man enough to admit I was wrong here.
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
I'm doing something that you've never done in your life.
Uh-oh, what is this?
I'm admitting I was wrong and I made a mistake.
What
I
happened?
reass-
What were you
I-
wrong about?
well, Steven Espinoza had said that Hasim Rahman Jr.'s team basically demanded that the fight be at 215, and they weren't going to go below that. So essentially, even with the 205 amendment added into the contract, right?
Yeah.
They were still going to come in at 215, right? And pay the penalty and fight Jake Paul at the weight that they wanted to fight him at. That's what they were going to do, right?
Damn.
And because there was only a week left, they were saying to themselves, "There's no way he's going to pull the plug on this fight with a week left." But he was willing to lose the money on the event, and he
That's
said, "Fuck it,"
crazy.
right? So then, when Jake Paul pulled the plug, and he knew that he had no other recourse, that's when he started coming out and saying, "Oh, okay, I'll make the 205 now." But
Oh.
at the end of the day,
He was kind of calling his bluff a little bit,
yes,
That's what Jake. That's what.
Jake Paul called his bluff. He thought Jake Paul would
Wow.
fold, and Jake Paul didn't fold.
Damn.
Shout out to Jake Paul, man.
Damn, and that
I owe him an apology.
A career high payday.
$250,000 plus $25,000 was training expenses. So essentially, they gave him
Wow.
they were going to give they already gave him the $25,000. Now I'm wondering, does he have to return that?
Yo.
They gave him $25,000 for him to get a nutritionist, help him out with his training. Now I'm wondering if he has to give it back. I know you wouldn't give it back, the type of person you are, but I don't know.
Yo, what the fuck?
No, I'm just playing. I like to take shots at you. I like to take shots, man. I like to take shots.
Oh man, this is wild though, Beebs. So you're saying that pretty much, Jake Paul called.
I'm just gonna come out and say it. I'm just gonna come out and say it. It's pretty obvious that he had no intention of making 200 pounds. It's pretty obvious that he really didn't want to make 205 either. It's pretty obvious that he was willing to fight for the bare minimum of $5,000 with all the penalties taken out, right?
He wanted the recognition. He just
wanted to basically knock Jake Paul out and fight him.
And then he wanted to knock Jake Paul out his way, not what the contract said, but he wanted to knock Jake Paul out his way.
Well, again, technically, what can happen here is the fighter has the right to pull out of the fight, or he has the right to accept the fight and receive the money, the money in fees. So it is a fighter. Jake Paul had every right to not want to fight him at 215 pounds.
Yeah.
He had every right to not want to fight him at 250 pounds. And Jake Paul did give him an extra 5. Let's not forget that. When the commission said, okay, we're not going to sanction this fight for anything below 205, Jake Paul still could have said no after that. Said no.
Wow.
Right? And he wouldn't have been in breach. But Jake Paul's team made an amendment to the original contract, and they added in an extra 5 pounds. So I was wrong.
Let me
I was
say
wrong.
this though.
I was wrong in criticizing Jake Paul. I believe I believe Steven Espinoza. I believe him 100%. I want me to read you the tweet? I'll read you the tweet. It said the New York State Athletic Commission increased the max weight to 205 pounds. Jake Paul agreed. Team Rahman responded that Hasim Rahman Jr. would weigh in at 215, not a request or proposal, a statement. Attempts were made to change their minds, but they repeatedly stated Hasim Rahman Jr. would not go below 215, and they told us to stop filming the All Access. I believe him.
Wow.
I believe Steven Espinoza.
Let me say.
And I apologize to Jake Paul. I'm not going to say anything negative about Hasim Rahman Jr. because I may see him in the street one day and I don't want him to knock me out. So I'm not going to disrespect him. But
Damn.
I have to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going to repeat myself again.
Yeah.
He wanted to fight. He was never going to make the 200 pounds. He really wasn't going to. He really didn't want to make the 205. And then they tried to make a power move and say, hey, we're with only a week left. They're saying to themselves, there's no way this guy's going to he's going to cancel the fight with a week left. And Jake Paul called his bluff. That's simply what happens. I don't even think it's hard. I mean, I don't even think you can refute that at this point.
Nope. I
don't even think you can refute that at this point. I have a lot of respect for Steven Espinoza. I really do. I believe every word he's saying right now. I believe every word he's saying right now. I believe it.
So let me
You always got to come on in with jacked up internet, man. Come on, man. Get yourself sorted out. All right, he probably has to come back in. So yeah. So yeah, I mean that's the gist of it, guys. Jake Paul called Hasim Rahman's bluff. Hasim Rahman did not believe that Jake Paul was going to cancel this fight with the week left. Right? And I guess and he quite possibly probably did weigh 216 on July 7th, right? And then at the press conference on July 13th, weighed 220 because he probably put on some water weight, right? And then he went back down to 215. And in his mind, he was probably saying, this is the lowest I'm going to go. And to be fair, at 215, he was very lean. He did look very lean. Even at 220, he looked lean at the press conference. So I'm not going to say he wasn't training for the fight or he wasn't in shape. Yeah. I'm not going to say that. But he did have no intentions. He had no intentions of trying to make that 200 pounds, and he really didn't want to make an effort to make that 205. But now that his bluff has been called, now he's saying, okay, now I'll make the 205. I didn't think they were going to cancel the event. They called my bluff. So now he wants to switch it up.
Yeah, did you see his last interview he did about 13 hours ago?
Yes, I did. Are you at the gym, Maestro?
What's up, Maestro?
Maestro's at the gym. Maybe he's going to get an interview with Rahman.
Ooh, okay, wow.
Oh, there he is, Rahman. Is that Rahman, Maestro?
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Wow, okay. Wow.
I'm waiting on him.
So you went down there.
I did, yeah.
So basically, once his bluff was called, now he wants to make the 205 because he didn't think Jake Paul was going to pull the plug with a week to go.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've been reading, it's saying that he wants to make 200 pounds now, or that he can make 205 on Friday. So I'm interested in asking him about that.
Yeah.
Let me switch over to my Bluetooth. Hold on, I'm listening.
But it's quite obvious, Corey, that his bluff was called. Can we?
Yeah.
You think that's a fair statement to say?
Yeah, man. Yeah, 100%. I just think that, you know.
So I hear you guys better now. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, look, Steven Espinoza couldn't have made it any clearer than you did, Joe. I mean, look, you signed a contract to make 200 pounds. Okay, you can't make 200 pounds, and they offer you 205, and you reject it and say you're going to come in at 215. I mean, that's literally a stretch, is it not?
Yeah, and once they called his bluff, and he thought that they weren't going to cancel the fight with a week to go, and they were just going to agree to fight him at 215 because they didn't want to lose all that money. Once they called his bluff, then he flipped the script and said, okay, now I'll fight at 205 because they called his bluff. Drew, go ahead, man. I'll let you jump in, brother. What's up, brother? Thanks for joining me.
And no problem. I had nothing to do anyway. I just got home from work not too long ago. But I'll be honest, I think he would have made 205. Even if he had a week to go, he probably could have made close to it, at least 208. With the training that he was doing, if he was doing any type of training to help him lose weight. But I thought if the fight's going to be on or not, it's probably not even on now still. This is a waste. Like, Showtime wasted money again on another fight with Jake Paul. I think Showtime should cut ties with Jake Paul because this is the second time in a row that a fight did not turn out the way they wanted to turn out. They tried to negotiate a fight with Tommy Fury the first time. He couldn't fight. Then they got Tyron Woodley as a late sub, and that pay-per-view bombed. And then now they did it again. He couldn't get into the country. They got this, and then this circus went. Like, tell you the truth, I kind of still think that he gave Rahman the contract, thinking he was going to sign it, and he signed it anyway. Did
you read Steven Espinosa's tweet?
Nah, I didn't read it.
Let me read you Steven Espinosa's tweet and see if you believe. He said, this is Steven Espinosa's tweet. He said the New York State Athletic Commission increased the max weight to 205. Jake Paul agreed. He said Team Rahman responded that Hasim Rahman Jr. would weigh in at 215, not a request or proposal, a statement. Attempts were made to change their mind, but they repeatedly stated Hasim Rahman Jr. would not go below 215. Then he told us to stop filming the All Access. So what I said earlier, Drew, this is what I said earlier. I believe that he had no intention of making the 200 pounds, and he was going to basically wait till the last week of the fight, and he was willing to pay the penalty, right? And they were monitoring his weight because they felt as though that was what he was going to do. So once his team made that statement to them, they say to themselves, there's a week left to go. There's no way he's going to cancel this fight with a week left to go. And I believe Jake Paul called his bluff. So now,
100%.
Now that Jake Paul called his bluff and he has no recourse, he didn't think Jake Paul was going to call this fight off with a week to go. So now I believe he wants to make the 205. Now he wants to do it.
Too little, too late.
Could he have done it all along? I'm not saying he could or he couldn't. It's very possible he could have. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. But he would rather have fought at 215, fought for the bare minimum so he could knock Jake Paul out. And then he'd be the first guy to beat Jake Paul, the first guy to knock Jake Paul. And then he becomes a star overnight because of that, regardless of only fighting for the $5,000. So I've changed my stance on this.
But I'm going to be honest with you guys. I really want to rip real quick before I head out. I got to get my daughter. But, I want to tell you guys, man, the more I think about this is like, yeah, he had these plans to call his, pretty much make the fight the way he wanted to make it. Hasim Rahman Jr. did. And, let's just say that he did, that Jake Paul did honor that. Let's just say that Jake Paul did honor that. At the end of the day, you still got to go in there and do the job and get the job done. And I'm going to be honest, even with the weight and everything like that, I would still lean a little bit towards, Jake Paul because of what I seen in the Kenzie Morrison fight. That was Hasim Rahman's last fight, okay? He was defensive, irresponsible a lot in that fight. He had his hands down about 65% of that fight. He had his hands down. He was getting touched up with lazy jabs. And Kenzie Morrison wasn't even in the best shape of his life in that fight. He was looking, his body type was looking like Konaki a little bit. These guys are not ripped. These guys are, 225 with flub on them. You know what I mean? These guys are not, I feel like some of these guys are not giving boxing its just due because it's like, damn, you're coming in at 225, but you still got a jelly roll on your bottom, you know what I mean, on your stomach, and it's like, I really truly think that Jake Paul being in that the optimal shape that he's gonna come in, we know he's gonna come in 100% good shape. We know he's gonna, come in there, 100%, balls to the wall. He's gonna try to go for the knockout. He's gonna try to go for the kill. I'm not saying Hasim Rahman is not. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is when you're coming in there and you're losing to guys like Kenzie Morrison, I mean, I'm not trying to, shit on Kenzie Morrison, but dude, you're not even a top 10 heavyweight. You're not even a top 20 heavyweight. You know what I mean? And for you to lose to a guy like that, Jake Paul was just like this dude's food. If I can get him down to 200, being that he's defensively irresponsible, having a lot of the fights that I've seen Hasim Rahman, and he has his guard low, very low. Okay, that means that he's susceptible to the jab. Jake Paul has a very good jab. If we don't give Jake Paul anything else, we can give Jake Paul that he has a good 1-2. Okay? And with that being said, I just think that 1-2 consistently, a consistent jab and a consistent 1-2 could be the end of Hasim Rahman Jr.'s night, man. And I just think that, I would love to see Hasim Rahman Jr. win, but I'm a betting man sometimes. So you can't go with, your gut or whatever. You have to go with, who do you really think? Who would you put your money on? And to be honest with you, I would put my money on, Jake Paul. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys, man. The more I think about it and the more I, because a lot of people are saying it's a lot to go on with this weight. Why couldn't he make the weight? Why did he sign up to make the weight if he couldn't make the weight? It's just a lot of fluff and a lot of bullshit. At the end of the day, you had a weight, clause, and you had to honor that, man. You have to honor that, man. You don't sign shit unless you honor that, man. And it's like Hasim Rahman Jr., I don't know what he's been through or what he's going through in camp, but he only had a little bit of time, okay, to get the weight off. And like Beeb said, Jake Paul's camp called his bluff 100%, And that's my call, man. I got to head out, man. I'm running late, man.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. Hey, Beebs, man. Good show. Drew, what's going on, man? And yeah, man, you guys finish it off, man. And I would love to see the fight to continue. But let's be honest, you guys, it doesn't look like it's gonna finish. It doesn't look like we're gonna get to the finish line of this fight. And it's gonna be, one of those fights of what could have happened, or what should have happened. And that's what we're left with right now. But yeah, man, it's Corley Boxing, man, signing out, man. Thank you guys so much, man.
You got it. Yeah, that's the reason why I made the video, or doing this video right now, Drew, is because Stephen Espinoza gave me the information that they tried to convince him to take the 205. And like I said, I'm not disagreeing with you. Could he have made the 205? Possibly, but he would have rather have paid the penalty and fight at the 215 and give himself the best chance to knock Jake Paul out.
Thing about it is, he would have been at 215 if he would have rehydrated, because he had the rehydration clause. Remember, I asked him, was the rehydration clause of the contract 10 pounds? He would have fought at 205, would have been at 215.
But if he weighed in at 215, he could have weighed 225, right?
Yeah. But here's the thing: there was 3 fighters that were willing to step in to fight Jake Paul. Kermit Cintron, Ishii Smith, and Bad Chad Dawson. And then Jalen Love, that's in the camp of Jake Paul, said, why would we take a fight with 3 former champions when he only had 5 fights? And then I was thinking about why, when Lomachenko fought for a world title in his 3rd professional fight, even though Lomachenko had all this amateur experience, he's still a pro fighter. And these guys haven't been active in years. You got Chad Dawson getting ready to fight Victor Belfort in a triangle. Kermit Cintron's been retired for at least 5 years. And Ishii Smith's been retired for at least 5 years. Like, you're saying you don't want to put him in there with a former world champion? Like them? Like, it's just like, you're a real fighter. boxers fight guys on short notice when events fall apart, just to make sure there's still a show, to make sure people on that course still make money. And Jake Paul did not want to do that. He did not want to act like a real boxer that day today. And
so you're mad that he didn't fight someone else instead of Hasim Rahman Jr. then?
yeah, he should have acted like a real fighter and picked somebody else on short notice. Because you know it, I know it. Other fighters would have fought somebody else on short notice to at least give people the money's worth.
But Drew, this is what you have. I mean, let me just ask you this. Could someone have been ready in a week's time? That's not short notice. That's beyond short notice. That's what I'm saying. Who would have been ready in a week's time? They would have had to reschedule the event.
I don't know. There's been fighters that have been ready on a week's notice. There's been fighters that have been ready on the same night. They were on the undercard.
That's a tough ask. I don't know, man.
Like, did they even attempt to talk to these three guys to see if they're close to the weight they fight?
Well,
No.
maybe next time what they'll do is probably have a backup opponent, because this is like the third time in a row like fights have fallen through for this guy. Two failed negotiations with Tommy Fury, and now actually a canceled fight. So it's 3 times this has happened where you can't get the fights done. So,
and it's really crazy. It's a crazy situation. I don't know why they even try to choose a heavyweight to bring him down. If you were gonna fight a real boxer, why not fight a cruiserweight?
Yeah.
Like, you would have, and I don't understand how the WBC could rank him at cruiserweight if he didn't even beat a cruiserweight. If he beats Rahman.
Yeah. We'll have to see what happens, man.
But I feel bad for the fighters on the undercard. They lost out on money. They wasted money on training and everything. Like, this is pathetic.
Yeah, this is crazy.
But
this is fucking crazy.
Like, I hope they refund the people that bought this.
Oh, they refunded the tickets. Yeah, they refunded everybody. So they lost money, man.
It's the second time they lost money on this dude. Like, seriously. I think Showtime has to be in on picking the opponent for Jake Paul. Say, hey, you want a real boxer? Let us pick the guy you're going to fight. And it's be a credible opponent. I think this is the only way how it's going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Hasim Rahman Jr. told us yesterday on his Twitter space that he was going to make the 205 or try to even make the 200. So we'll see what happens, man. I don't think the fights is canceled. I mean, it's listed as canceled on Madison Square Garden's website.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know what the difference for Rahman to do that now. And for him to make 205.
Well, again, I mean, you should have just agreed to it. You should have just, when the 205 was sent over, you should have just accepted it, I guess. I mean, they said 215, and I guess they demanded the 215. Again, Jake Paul called his bluff. They really didn't. Hasim Rahman didn't think Jake Paul would cancel this event with a week to go, and he did. Simple and plain. They weren't going to be dictated. They weren't going to be dictated to by Hasim Rahman here, or his team at least. So,
and this is claimed that negotiations failed when it comes to that. But I'll tell you the truth. I think they could at least, if you try to negotiate more. I think if Rahman wanted to say, "Hey, I won't do two. I can't do. Let's do 210." But I think that's even pushing it. Well, 210.
Here's the thing, man. He kept going on about how they only gave me 45 minutes when they first offered me the fight. But you took it. You took it. Everything you criticized them for, you accepted, right? It wasn't the greatest circumstances. Of course, they were gonna put all these concessions, put all these restrictions on you. Of course, they were gonna do that because you're the bigger guy. You have the more experience. And if they fought you at heavyweight and they fought you and gave you every opportunity to have everything, make the conditions optimum for you. If they did that, then they would have got destroyed. So they had to try to level the playing field a little bit by putting the the 200-pound weight limit in there, by having it at cruiserweight, and then they added the 5 pounds in there. At the end of the day, he accepted the deal. And what he thought he could do was pay all the penalties, come in at the weight he wanted, right? And they kind of suspected that was his plan, so that's why they were monitoring his weight. And then Nevada State, the New York State Athletic Commission, was monitoring his weight because they were concerned that if they're concerned for his safety if he could make that weight within the time period. And then on the Twitter space yesterday, he's like, oh, well, they were so concerned about my weight. They were so concerned about my weight. Yeah, because they thought you were going to come in at whatever you wanted to and pay the penalty and fight for the bare minimum. They didn't want to face that, right? They didn't want to face that when you stepping on the scale on Friday at 215 pounds or whatever, and then have to pull the fight the day before. They wanted to get ahead of it. They wanted to minimize their losses. Why are they going to fly? Why are they going to fly everyone in, have everyone come in, right? Have everyone come in, right? Have all the people, reserve the hotels, whatever. Everyone's families coming in or whatever. And then they're going to cancel the fight the day before? No. They wanted to know where you were at, and they wanted to monitor your weight, right? Because they didn't want you to step on the scale at 215 and fight for $5,000. They knew that was your strategy. That's why they were monitoring your weight, right? So they wanted to get ahead of it, and they wanted to pull the plug, within ample time, so they could refund everybody, and everyone didn't travel and come here or whatever. So they helped out. Not only they helped out the fans here too, people who would have wasted their time and their money coming here or to New York or whatever. So they knew what his strategy was. They suspected that he was not going to make 200 pounds, that he was going to pay the penalty and fight for the bare minimum. That's why his weight was being monitored. That's one of the reasons why. And the New York State Athletic Commission was also concerned that he was not going to make the weight, or if he did make the weight, they wanted to make sure he made it safely. They wanted to monitor him, and they wanted to make sure that he didn't lose too much in the final days leading up to the fight. So it was a safety issue on the New York State Athletic Commission's part. But Jake Paul's team was going to monitor it as well, because they did not want to get surprised. They didn't want him at the to step on that scale and say, "Hey, boom, I'm 215. I didn't make the weight. I'm going to pay the penalty." They didn't want to do that. So that's why they were monitoring his weight. They knew what was going on.
I don't think the Athletic Commission should have sanctioned the fight, especially at a small amount of time he had to lose the weight.
Well, here's the thing. This will probably open up a lot of commission's eyes, and they probably won't do it again. They probably won't ever sanction a fight like this again.
Like, first of all, Showtime should have never allowed this opponent. They should have chose their own opponent for him. And if he didn't agree, it would have benefited Showtime, because Jake Paul would be in breach of contract. It could, and then the Athletic Commission should have not sanctioned this and say, "Hey, we cannot accept this opponent due to the time that he has to lose the weight," which would have forced them to find another opponent and everything. Because you went from a light heavyweight to a heavyweight. Because Tommy Fury fights at light heavyweight. So it's just a horrible decision. It really is.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Bye. I'm gonna head out, Beeb. I'll talk to you later.
I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna head out too, man. In a couple minutes. But thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate it, brother.
No problem.
All right, be good, brother. Yeah, so that's that, man. for those who jumped on late, Stephen Espinoza basically said that they refused to fight at 205, and they demanded that the fight be at 215. Jake Paul called his bluff. They didn't think that Jake Paul would cancel the fight with a week to go. They were expecting to step on that scale and weigh 215 pounds, and they were willing to fight for the bare minimum. Jake Paul said no. And now, after Jake Paul called his bluff, now he wants to make the 205. I'm sorry, guys. That's just the way that I believe Stephen Espinoza. He has no reason to lie here. There's no upside for him to make any of this up. There's no upside for him to want this fight to be canceled. But in fairness to Jake Paul, he's gonna weigh in at 195 pounds, and to expect him to fight a guy weighing 215, and then on fight night probably 225, I don't agree with it. All right, guys, thank you so much. Beeb is out. Talk to y'all soon. Peace out, everybody. Talk to you soon. Have a great day, man. Be safe.